The President of Kenya, William Ruto, has dissolved his entire cabinet, including the Attorney General, following violent demonstrations against his proposed tax increase of over $2 billion.
In line with the powers given to me by Article 1521 and 1525B of the Constitution and Sections 12 of the Office of the Attorney General's Act, decided to dismiss with immediate effect all the Cabinet Secretaries and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, of the Cabinet of Kenya.
President Ruto kept his Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and key cabinet member, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi. The plan to increase taxes on essential items such as bread and others, including diapers, was scrapped by President Ruto following protests that resulted in at least 41 deaths. 3 weeks of unrest had gripped Kenya, with protesters storming parliament on June 25 after the passage of a controversial finance bill proposing a $2 billion tax increase. The protests, which claimed over 40 lives, have morphed into calls for President Ruto's resignation. The protesters claimed the cabinet was corrupt, incompetent, arrogant, and living a lavish lifestyle, while ordinary people were burdened by high taxes and a cost of living crisis. They also mentioned corruption scandals within some ministries, such as the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Health, where fake fertilizer and misappropriation of funds were alleged. After President Ruto's 2022 election victory, he rewarded key political allies to 21 key cabinet posts. This move broke with tradition, where well-qualified technocrats were typically chosen. Critics accused him of picking political allies over qualified people. The only other time that cabinet was dissolved was in 2005, when then-President Mwai fired his ministers after a failed referendum so as to cement his authority. Political leaders across the political spectrum shared their reactions to President Ruto's move to dissolve the cabinet. They reportedly described his decision as bold and about time, necessary to quell public dissatisfaction and unrest within the country.
Public outrage in Kenya reached a boiling point after days of peaceful protests, violent clashes with security forces, unlawful arrests, and the deaths of protesters. The burning of the parliament building served as a final push, forcing the government to withdraw a proposed controversial finance bill. This bill aimed at imposing the most extreme austerity measures in the country's history. Kenyans are furious about the biting austerity measures. Protesters point the finger at the International Monetary Fund (IMF) for last year's tax hikes and rising costs of essentials. They also criticize the recently rejected 2024 budget that proposed further tax increases. These harsh policies, they claim, were forced upon Kenya by the IMF in exchange for a $3.9 billion loan in 2021. The 38-month agreement comes with strings attached. The IMF wants Kenya to raise taxes, cut back on government support programs, and sell off state-owned enterprises. The austerity measures have sparked anger, with many blaming US influence. Protesters believe the US, as a major IMF shareholder, dictates its programs. They criticize President Ruto for cozying up to the US and G7 by sending troops to Haiti, downplaying calls for financial reform, taking a weak stance on climate change, and accepting loans that benefit foreign investors more than Kenyans. Kenya's economy is a textbook example of foreign manipulation, a deliberate legacy of colonialism. To achieve economic independence, Kenya needs to break free from its forced role supplying cheap resources, consuming products from developed nations, and accepting outdated technologies and unwanted manufacturing cast-offs. This keeps Kenya stuck at the bottom of the global economic ladder. To break free from economic dependence, Kenya needs to invest strategically in areas like food self-sufficiency, sustainable agriculture, clean energy independence, and regional and continental industrial development. These are the crucial issues that are never on the table when Western powers like the G7, EU, and us welcome President Ruto with open arms.